myself, but present our work, CSR Asia's work with Oxfam. And we are also happy to have co-organized this webinar with Business Call to Action, and also present 3 companies who have graciously accepted this opportunity to speak further about their initiatives. So we'd like to welcome the representatives from East West Seed, Friesland Campina, and AA. So I'd just like to say a couple of things for the participants to note before we start. So at the end of the discussion, there will be an opportunity to ask some questions directly to the speakers. So that's CSR Asia, Business Call to Action, and 3 companies. So we would ask for each of the participants who would like to ask a question to write that down in the chat portion. As you can see on my screen, there should be a chat window. So please feel free to use that at the end, and please also indicate who you are, which organization you represent, and who you will be asking the question. And I'll be able to facilitate that question and answering period. And if we don't get to your questions at this time, there will be emails for you to take note afterwards, and please follow up and continue discussions after the webinar. So for those who are a little unfamiliar with CSR Asia, I'd just like to give a little bit of an overview of what we do. So we are a leading provider of advisory and research in Asia. Since 2004, we've done a number of different thought leadership reports, such as this one, focused on Asia as well as globally as well. So we've done a number of webinars and reports focused on supply chain issues, human rights, and also we do sustainability reports for companies listed on stock exchanges. So there's a few of the companies that we work with on the right side of your screen, so you can make reference to that. So I'd like to just quickly go over the purpose of writing this report. So as I mentioned, we've also been working with Oxfam recently as part of an initiative called GRACE. And this means the Gender Transformative and Responsible Agribusiness Investments in Southeast Asia. So what this is that we focus on engaging and inspiring the private sector to be more inclusive towards women and smallholders, and to come up with new strategies to create more inclusive business models and more sustainable business models. So this is work that we've done with 6 different country teams from Cambodia, Indonesia, Thailand, for example, and of 5 regional partners, CSR Asia is one of them. And so I'll let you to just refer to the 3 different approaches that we take, which are essentially that we promote CSR, we work with the private sector to create more transformative or responsible and inclusive agribusiness strategies, and also to promote innovative investments in small and medium enterprises, because we want to engage with both large companies and also with emerging companies. So to give a brief overview of the webinar, so with the unveiling of the new report, we'd also like to welcome a Miss Mina Nimenim. I want to apologize for the pronunciation of that, but who will be providing a little bit of the highlights for their newest study on uncharted waters, blending value and values for social impact through the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'll allow her a little bit of an opportunity to discuss that and some of the activities that they're taking on. And also a major part of this webinar is to provide the 3 companies and the representatives from East West Seed, Friesland Campina, and AA the opportunity to elaborate on 3 business models that they've created in Myanmar and Thailand. I'll allow them about 10 minutes to talk a little bit further about their case, their strategies and successes, as well as their challenges. So a little bit about this report. So we at CSR Asia, we focused on identifying the business case and the business drivers for large agricultural companies to how they can adopt more responsible and inclusive approaches towards smallholders, both women and men. And this is an opportunity for other companies and organizations to use this as a tool for implementation, as well as a tool for advocacy, and also private sector engagement, and as a general reference to understand the potential of inclusive business models and smallholder engagement. So the objectives of this report and webinar are really to highlight from real cases, real business cases, the strategies and the type of partnerships that are critical to allow for inclusion to take place with smallholders. So we're discussing the enabling and inhibiting factors for engagement, to understand also the gender perspective and limitations that exist within the agribusiness industry, as well as the value that women can bring to the industry. And with that, we also identify the challenges and success factors, which I'll allow the companies to elaborate a little further. So without further ado, I will allow the representative from Business Call to Action to present a little bit more about their activities. So I'll leave it to Mina to take it further.
Okay, thank you very much. And on behalf of the Business Call to Action, we are very happy to be co-organizing this webinar. The Business Call to Action is a global United Nations-based leadership platform, and our mission is to advance inclusive business through challenging companies to develop inclusive business models that have both the potential for development impact, thus supporting the sustainable development goals, and for commercial success. And when we talk about inclusive business, we refer to business models that seek to provide goods, services, livelihoods at a commercially viable basis, either at scale or scalable to people living at the base of the economic pyramid, by including them as part of the core business value chains of the companies, which means as producers, suppliers, employees, customers, distributors, or retailers. And what we refer to when we talk about the base of the pyramid are commonly people living with very low incomes, with incomes less than $8 a day, and who lack access to goods and services. The Business Call to Action has nearly 200 member companies, and these are companies that have made public commitments on how they contribute to the sustainable development goals through inclusive business. Our members have inclusive business models in over 65 countries, and in total, they are set to impact over 200 million people by 2030. And we do see a growing number of companies joining with commitments in the Asian region, including one of the companies representing or presenting today, East West Feed. As a publicly funded platform, we have 5 key donor governments supporting us. The Business Call to Action is open to companies who wish to make public commitments on the Sustainable Development Goals and who meet our eligibility criteria on the inclusive business models and in regards to overall commitment to sustainable business practices. The Business Call to Action advances inclusive business in 3 ways. First, we drive measurable commitments from companies that we also leverage then to build evidence and knowledge on what works and what does not work for inclusive business, which we use to further advocate globally for a supporting environment for inclusive business. For our member companies, we do offer a high visibility platform to showcase their work and commitments and linkages with peer leaders. We also offer knowledge and support, for instance, for impact measurement and the opportunity to voice their views and contribute to the global and local dialogue on inclusive business. Now, we do believe that inclusive business is a business opportunity. It can both increase profits and reduce costs for companies. And above all, it's a unique way for companies to contribute to the sustainable development goals through core business. And this is a topic that we looked at last year when we launched with the United Nations Development Programme and Deloitte Monitor, a report called Uncharted Waters. That was this year accompanied with an online tool for companies to assess their inclusive business maturity and based on that receive guidance on how to move onward in the journey developing their models. And these both can be accessed freely through our webpage. Now, both the report and the tool do provide insight on inclusive business opportunities, and indeed agriculture, food and beverages was one of the sectors highlighted in the publication among 5 high opportunity sectors for inclusive business, both in terms of financial success potential and the impact on sustainable development goals. Thus, it's a pleasure to join this webinar that will introduce further 3 successful inclusive business models in agriculture. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mina, and thank you to Business Call to Action. So to move forward, we would like to invite the 3 businesses that we've showcased within this webinar. So there are 10 business cases in total that have been included within the Agribusiness report. In this particular instance, we have 3. So we'd like to first welcome Mr. Stuart Morris, who is actually calling in from Myanmar at the moment. And Mr. Stuart Morris is the director of East-West Seed Foundation. He has over 20 years of experience in horticulture training and advisory in different countries in Southeast Asia. He works closely with farmers, universities, and local communities. And I will allow him to introduce the East-West Seed case and the expanding vegetable market in Myanmar. So, Mr. Morris, I'll leave it to you.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Can you just tell me, is my sound okay?
It sounds okay. It sounds like you're in a bit of a tunnel, but it'll be fine.
Okay, if you can bear with that. So looking at the first slide, just to give some context and background to the company. East-West, we're a company with 30 years experience on the markets in tropical vegetable seeds. Over the last 30 years, we've developed to become the 10th largest vegetable seed company in the world. So a lot has really happened for us in the last few years. And a lot of our success has really been that we have a focus on markets-orientated plant breeding. So we really look at local markets, find out what local consumers are needing. And we breed plants or breed vegetables according to that. Well, 12% of our turnover of the company is actually invested into R&D, so it's quite significant for us. As a company, I think we're quite unique. Our client base is predominantly smallholder farmers. I guess at least 95% of the clients buying our seeds are smallholders in Asia, Southeast Asia, some African countries and parts of Latin America. So we estimate we reach out to about 18 million farmers. Most of the countries we work in, they really are emerging markets where the access to knowledge on improved production is very limited, or in some cases it's really non-existent. There's virtually no extension services available for farmers. So over the years, we've really recognized the need to integrate knowledge transfer into our business strategy. And we see this as really a precursor to developing markets. We have a focus on pre-commercial activities and non-profit activities. So we made a decision a few years ago to do this through a corporate foundation. All the work we do in knowledge transfer fully aligns to our core business. We're really looking for a kind of like a win-win scenario. With a focus in the less developed markets, we can bring the maximum benefit to the farmers, so increasing the level of knowledge of farmers. And we're looking at the same time where we can find maximum opportunity for the company to develop future markets. Currently working in Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, India, Thailand, Tanzania, Uganda, and of course Myanmar, which is what we're going to talk about now. If you could move to the second slide, please, Nick. I think we're on the wrong side. Anyway, so an overview of how we operate in Myanmar. We started our commercial operation in Myanmar in 2005. It's a really challenging environment to set up a business. And well, why did we come into Myanmar in the first place? We see absolutely fantastic opportunity for the company and opportunity for the farmers. It's a country where 70% of the population engaged in agriculture. Has like a really interesting location. It's like a kind of crossroads between South Asia and Southeast Asia. excellent water resources, agronomic climatic zones, so really good for vegetable production. And you've got 400,000 hectares of vegetables being produced almost entirely by smallholders. And our estimates is probably about 750,000 up to 1 million smallholders who earn the better part of their income purely through vegetables. So to make it work in Myanmar, we really decided from very early on that we really need to lay down some basic foundations by training farmers. It's the only way we can build up our business around that. How are we doing this in Myanmar? We're same in any other country where we have knowledge transfer activities. Knowledge transfer is really centered around evidence-based demonstrations. So what we're trying to do is showcase profitable and sustainable production practices, and the two really have to go together. You can't pull the two apart. We don't set up east-west farms. It's really a matter of selecting key farmers in villages, and we capacitate them to get a peer-driven approach. It's a very long-term approach for us. We tend to work with the key farmers for 2 to 3 years, and we would be in the field with them, or our extension team in the field with them, at least 2 to 3 times a week. So really starting from land preparation up until harvest. And at any one time in Myanmar, you're probably looking at about 200 demonstrations in operations. That's maybe about 500-600 demonstrations a year we're able to support. It's actually the success rate of these demos is looking quite interesting. There's only a 5% dropout rate, which I think is quite impressive. Sorry, you need to flick back to the partnership slide. I think you need to go back to that one there. Yes, right. So why are we investing into partnerships? It's not only for funding. The company, we're investing more than $1.5 million into knowledge transfer, not in Myanmar specifically, but across the group where we work. So it's a significant investment for us, and with partners we can more than double those funds, so we can really upscale our activities. But actually, probably of more interest to us than the funding is actually that we can leverage different skill sets which partners bring. So skills in facilitation, in building groups of farmers, the strength of farmer groups, access to finance and infrastructure development, etc. What we want to do, we want to focus on technical training, so showing farmers how to grow vegetables. And we need that environment around them which our partners can bring to make that a success. And probably one of the biggest benefits we're really getting from many of our partners is the mobilization of farmers. So they mobilize groups of farmers, and we can simply go in and train. It makes our work much more effective. So with working through partners in Myanmar, in 2016 we reached more than 12,000 farmers directly in 2016. As farmers attending training, skill days, one-to-one advisory services, etc. And about 30% of that figure, 30% of the 12,000 were women. And what we do realize, the participation rate of women in our training is lower. And we also recognize that quite often, if you go to the field and you talk to a key farmer, is more often than not a man. If you ask his wife what was the last chemical sprayed, she will often even remember what the active ingredient was, whereas the husband is not remembering those details. So we're starting to see more and more value of working with women. They seem to pick up and they seem to transfer some information and knowledge more effectively. Myanmar, we're working with Mercy contacts. Many different partners were concerned that we got the Netherlands government, starting a new project of MEDA, and possibly with ECO in the future on lung beans. Nick, if you can move to the next slide, please, on impact. So in terms of impact, I think our approach, we're really trying to provide a market-driven solution. So I think it really, well, we hope it's really contributing to rural economic development out there. But it is a win-win for us. We're not a charity. We're not there just to help farmers. We're doing it because we want to develop a business on top of this. But when you look at the benefit for farmers themselves, from 2016, from all the demonstrations we had, which just gives an indication, it doesn't say how much the replication was, it doesn't say how well the other farmers are doing, but from the demonstrations themselves, the net income from those demonstrations was $1,350, which for a Myanmar farmer in some of these very poor areas like Rakhine and Siem where we're working, it's a significant increase in income. And of course, with that increase in income, you build this demand for farmers to use better quality inputs, and that's where we come in. The commercial company takes that opportunity to develop those markets around it. But of course, it's not just East-West. We're not training on how to grow East-West tomato or East-West cucumber, for example. It's really how to grow a vegetable. So other seed companies, they have equal opportunity to develop their markets, and they do. And then other companies supplying some products which we don't supply, for example, plastic mulch, seedling trays, trellis netting, etc., better quality pesticides. All these companies, they have an opportunity from this demand created for better quality inputs. And I think what's also really nice at the end of the day, we're working very intensively with farmers, 3 years in the community, for example. And when we pull out, we're really leaving the demonstration farmers or the key farmers as like hubs of good production for the future. And what we've seen in other countries and in Myanmar, that it's not only they continue good practices, but they really start to innovate. They look for different ways. So it really moves forward. If you could go to the next slide, please, Nick. Success factors. We've talked a lot about partnerships. I don't want to go into that too much, but without partnerships, yes, we can really be effective. We can do some good work, but it's really working closely with partners that really brings us success. It's not just about direct partnership. So we have a partnership to support 5,000 farmers in a particular geographic area. Sometimes it's also about dialogue, to like sow this seed of an idea for the future. And one example of this, the local government in Rakhine, we've been working in Rakhine for a few years now. When we first started in Rakhine, the local government, or the agricultural side of the government, they were very skeptical that you can't grow vegetables in Rakhine. Why would you even want to set up a business here? And well, after about a year, 18 months, they came back to us and they were really impressed. Yes, we've seen production. We've not only seen production in the cool season where we knew it was possible, but also in the rainy season. So what we've in effect done, we've changed the mindset of a lot of people in government. And when the government extension is going to the field, they're taking that message with them. So they may not train about vegetable production, but they are taking the message to farmers that vegetable production is really a viable business opportunity. And that opens doors to the future. And then we're linking with education in Myanmar. So we work very closely with ASEAN University in Naypyidaw, or near Naypyidaw, and also with several SAIs, States Agricultural Institutes. And that's a very long-term vision of ours to support these institutes. We hope that there will be an impact in the years to come with graduates coming out. Well, maybe we recruit graduates, but if not, those graduates are anyway going to come and bring that knowledge back into the sector. So somehow it will benefit us in the future. Next slide, please, on challenges. I think in the developing markets, probably the biggest challenge for us is the high level of risk aversion with farmers. So the poorer farmers are, the big risk they have of making small changes in their production practices. And that's really why we have to do it so intensively, why we have to stay in the communities for three or more years. In the initial crop cycles we do of them, you can notice only very small changes. And then, of course, these farmers, the poor, especially the poorer farmers, a lot of them, they're burdened by debt from previous experiences, which makes them even more hesitant. Most of them have got very limited access to credit, If there's any credit, it's usually on not very good terms. But what we do notice, many farmers coming to trainings and observing demonstrations, etc., after a while they really recognize the benefits of investing into better techniques. So some techniques they can pick up. It doesn't cost any money to make a raised bed, for example, but if you talk about putting plastic mulching down for the rainy season, of course it's an extra investment cost. And simply their cash flow doesn't enable them to do that. They haven't got $30 in their pocket where they can put down for a roll of plastic mulch. So that really slows the whole thing down. And one final challenge, a general challenge in many countries, but it was particularly strong in Myanmar in the initial days, was that the government policy is really skewed towards field crops and looking more food security, which is fully understandable. But governments tend not to look at the opportunity of vegetables, and we believe there's a huge economic impact from vegetables, and it's something that farmers growing field crops, they can also invest into vegetables on smaller areas. And just very briefly to wrap up where we're going for the future of the company, we see the company growing much bigger in Myanmar in the coming years. We're really trying to invest into a fully integrated seed company, so looking at seed production, developing a seed processing facility, which will be accredited to international standards, which is a completely new thing for Myanmar. Getting our distribution system so we can get seeds down to the village level as far as possible across the country. And then introducing eventually a new range of seed packages specifically aimed at home farming, which is it's a new line for us, and we see quite some market opportunity there for the future. And finally, we also look at growing our extension team. We don't intend to grow it too big, but we'll probably eventually double what we have at the moment in terms of capacity for knowledge transfer. And then that's me done. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Just to move on, I'd like to now introduce our next speaker. It's Ada Wong, who's the Head of Public Affairs and Communications. And she'll be talking about their case called Increasing Incomes for Thai Dairy Farmers. So I'll leave it to her to elaborate a little bit further.
Thanks, Nick, for the introductions. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Just let me quickly introduce who we are. First Time Campina is one of the world's largest dairy cooperatives, established over 140 years ago in the Netherlands. When it comes to smallholder farming, I'm saying smallholder farmers are key to our supply chain and to our business. Our Dairy Development Program, DDP, aims to support smallholder dairy farmers to improve productivity and quality of raw milk. So far, more than 250,000 farmers have benefited from our programs over the world. Just in Asia, over 45,000 local dairy farmers in Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand are directly and indirectly supported. Our DDP programs aim to increase the quantity and quality of raw milk, improve productivity, and also provide market access for the farmers for their product. Next slide, please. Let's take a closer look at Thailand. In Thailand, there are more than 5,500 farmers who are part of our DDP program. And I would say similar to other countries, the smallholder farmers in Thailand, they're faced with inadequate infrastructure. That is why it is important for us to help them to scale up their business. We provide different kinds of trainings, for example, animal health, milk quality, feed and water management, data management, account and business management. When it comes to the objectives just for the DDP in Thailand to say, I would say it is establish new collection centers, provide technical services and consultations programs, and also support the rural agriculture development in Thailand. For any similar programs, I do believe that partnership is the key to success. Multi-stakeholder partnerships can help to unlock the contributions of the value chain. We also can bring together partners from the business and from the government. Next slide, please. For example, in Thailand, we have built a very strong collaborations with the National Bureau of Agricultural, Commodity and Food Standards. We also worked with local authorities in Thailand to ensure that the alignment of DDP with the local development and agriculture agenda. And we have a farmer-to-farmer exchange program. It enables us to cross-sharing ideas and best practice between the Dutch and the Thai farmers. When it comes to impact, I would say that two types of impact that I would like to highlight here. One is business and the other is social impact. From the business perspective, we can ensure the standards, the quality of our raw milk remain consistent across the supply chain. We also ensure sustainability of supply chain and provide local markets with the local produce. From the social perspective, we're also adding value to the local community and ensure that farmers and their families are able to improve their livelihood. We also promote better nutrition within the communities. Next slide, please. Next one, just finish impact. I think aside to this, I think by equipping farmers with technology and improved capability, I think that's a very important part I want to highlight is we can ensure that dairy farming continue to be attractive, not just for these generations, as for the younger generations, for the next generation, to make sure that we can ensure the continuity of the dairy sector. And we also help consumers develop a taste for dairy by raising awareness about the benefits of dairy in the society. When it comes to challenge, of course, we're all facing different kind of challenge. I will highlight the three main challenges. First of all, we are aware that the need of continued investment in infrastructure and technology. By doing that, we can ensure the Thai farmers not only well equipped, they can stay competitive. And the second one is related to the world milk price. As you know, the fluctuation of dairy price in the world market have a negative impact on the Thai farmers because they increase the cost of the milk production in Thailand. Third one, an ongoing challenge, I think not just for us, it's for all agriculture and farming sector. How can we measure the benefits correctly in both qualitative and quantitative terms? I think that's very important. For our company, next slide, please. For First Sign campaign, we definitely remain committed to continue to engage farmers to support them through their ensure their livelihood through our dairy development program. I would also like to take the opportunity to share a great news that our Thai team has recently signed an MOU with DPO, it's a Thai-Danish brand, and National Agriculture University in Thailand, under the endorsement of Minister of Agriculture. The program actually aims to create a dairy development programs for Thailand, and after a period of 2 years, the government aims to endorse this program and set as a national standard for dairy development in Thailand. I would say this is a perfect example to demonstrate the importance of multi-stakeholder partnership, especially in agriculture. That's all from me. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Ada. And now we'll move on to Therwit from AA, who is a Senior Executive Vice President and a member of the team leading the global consumer expansion of AA. He currently leads the market development for Europe and the Americas, and I will allow him to present their case study and elaborate further.
Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start off with a bit of background about the company itself. Pulp and paper, not exactly the most exciting topic to be talking about, And trees in agriculture, well, again, not very exciting topic. However, clearly essential to the product development of paper itself, and also the environmental concerns with trees. The industry itself is a globally competitive industry. When you put up a pulp paper mill, you're looking at putting up at least 600 to 1 million tons of capacity. And that is more than sufficient to supply most of Asia, with the exception, of course, of China and Japan itself. So we're basically an export-driven company. Just for your information, a rough calculation, how many trees does it take to make about a ton of paper? Well, you're basically looking at a 6-to-1 ratio. So, a 60-to-1 ratio. So you're looking at about 60 million trees to make up that 1 million tons of paper that we're talking about. The pulp paper process starts off with a tree. You bring it in, you chop the tree up, and then you go into what we call a pulping process, which turns basically separating the fiber out of the tree from the rest, which is the bark, the leaves, and knots, and some oily substances. The fiber is what is used to make the paper itself. The rest is actually being used in a paper mill to create biomass electricity, which we currently do make about 100 megawatts of electricity out of our mill in Thailand. So that's an overall background about the industry itself and the paper making process, and of course the trees being the critical part of driving our product and our go-to-market approach. The rest of my discussion will be on the supply side and the supply chain, which is referring to the trees itself. When we went into this business, we had a good look around the world to see how we could get a sustainable source of supply to feed into our mill. The couple of models that were available for us was to go into managed plantation, which is the favored model for most of South America, parts of Europe. And that was basically, and there was also some contract farming that you could do. When we looked at these two models, we pretty well realized that to get the number of trees that we required to produce the paper to feed our mill, we'd have to take over quite a large tract of land in Thailand if we wanted to go to the managed forest approach. When we realized that in Thailand, we're an agricultural-based country, we export a lot of rice, and a lot of our land is still involved within the agriculture industry itself, with a large portion of our farmers still involved with the land itself. So we came up with a different approach, and the approach is what we call the paper from Kana approach. If we go to the next slide, please, Nick. So we had to start with looking at a suitable tree, and we needed to have a fast-growing tree, and clearly one of the best tree in that aspect is the eucalyptus tree. So we looked at various different types of eucalyptus species, and we developed a natural hybrid at the very start of our process, which is going back almost 40 odd years ago. In Thailand, you're not allowed to put in any GMO. So what we had was a natural hybrid process to find out which trees would be suitable for Thailand, suitable in terms of the weather and the soil conditions here. We eventually found the tree. By the time we got round to the trees that we found suitable to grow in Thailand, we went through 2 12-year cycles, and that leads us to the modern era of AA. So having found the tree, that we needed to resolve this getting a continuous supply of the trees. So at this stage we decided that perhaps the best approach was to engage with the farmers who are growing their rice paddies. And if you notice along the rice paddies, there is a ridge in between the rice paddies. And this empty ridge, essentially to keep the water covered the rice paddies during the growth seasons. So we approached the farmers and asked them, so, well, why don't you grow our trees along your the empty ridges? It was a bit of a challenge, and it had to go through a proofing stage where the first cycle of crops, second cycle of crops was successful. Then more farmers came and participated in this program. So some of the interesting results that this led to was we had to guarantee, obviously, a buyback from the farmers themselves. And the farmers, now that they grow the trees, they had two sources of income. One was for the rice, and the other one is from the tree, which, by the way, is harvested in 4 to 5 year cycles. And these trees, because we have a guaranteed buyback clause with the farmers, they were certain that in every year they would get a certain amount of income that would come back to them to support their families. So today, from those early beginnings, we now have planted over 400 million trees, and roughly over 1 million farmers are involved in the process itself. Having set up this uniquely Asian solution to sustainable sourcing of trees, we now have to move to the next stage, and that is getting access to certification, which I will talk a bit about later on. If I could go to the next slide, please, Nick. The partnerships that we have taken us through from the initial stages was with ASEAN University. They helped us to firstly develop the species, the trees that would be suitable for Thailand, and help us to monitor that, and also to better understand the impacts of these trees. The natural concerns were, if you grow these trees, would they impact the harvesting of rice? Would they impact the other surrounding, or the quality of the quality of the land? So they continually monitor this for us, and I'm quite happy to report that after looking at their reports, which we have seen, that we seem to be having a positive impact, and there seems no negative results coming from these trees being planted along the rice paddies. We also work with Chulalongkorn University, the Asian Institute of Technology, again to keep track of the customers, their satisfaction, and practical support during the implementations of these programs. We also work with AIT to do life cycle assessments to estimate carbon emissions that we generate, or in this case we actually take out. We're actually carbon negative at the mill gate itself. The third partnership is something that we've been developing over the last couple of years, and that is basically certification. We're working with, I've highlighted here the program for endorsement of forest certification, one of the world's largest forest certification systems in the world itself. We're quite unique. We took the model that we have, this paper from Kana, to PEFC. It had been something that they had never seen before. And we worked through, we took them through the process, visited the farms, and said that they came to agree with us that this was a sustainable way of sourcing trees itself. Today we are involved in the global project, pilot project for certifying what they now term timber out of forests as the paper from Kana category. And through the PEFC, we've also worked with the Thailand Ministry of the Forestry Department, rather, and the Agriculture Department, and set up a body for certifying PEFC standards in Thailand. If we could move on to the next slide, please. So the impacts has been clearly, timber is now in quite abundance in Thailand, and it's actually become quite competitive for us because even with the buyback guarantee, our farmers are quite astute, and they now do realize that these trees that they've been growing for us can also be used for other products, such as furniture, and also supplying to our competitors, not just in Thailand, but our competitors from across the oceans. So it's becoming quite competitive for us even to buy back some of these trees that we've started with this project. The other positive impact is the land use management. One of the drawbacks of if we would go to a full managed forest plantation is the monoculture, and by moving away to the paper from Kanar approach, we've been able to move away from monoculture impacts on the environment itself. So those have been positive impacts. And from the survey that we have been continually conducting through AIT and Falun Gong University, we found that most farmers are using the additional income to support their families and to reduce their debt cycle. Thanks, Nick. Next slide, please. So our success factors, I've already mentioned about this. It's the new value from the secondary crops that are grown, the additional income that it generates to the farmers, which have been estimated to about $1,000 per crop cycle. We do continue to provide technical support to farmers, and this provides, we actually have a field team of about 100 people out in the field who continually visit farmers and advise them on whether the trees are ready for harvest or not, and what other areas they need to be aware of in managing these trees. So the challenges ahead for us is that this does require a lot of resources, people on the ground, resources to monitor and also to report back. And it also ties into certification, the legality of the wood, the land use itself, and the farmers, and obviously the impact on labor. It does require a lot of logistic support. We get our wood from all over Thailand. A large portion of it is within the Central Plains itself, but we do get wood from the northeast of Thailand and also from the northern parts of Thailand. So that does take quite a bit in terms of logistics to just carry the wood back to our mill, which is located in the Central Plains of Thailand. And to the last, I think, yeah. I think the key for us in the future plans is going back to the certification. This is certifying will help us to access more markets globally and to continue to guarantee the income, additional income that we're able to generate for farmers in Thailand. Well, thank you very much, Nick, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Therowit. I'd like to thank actually all the speakers for providing the time to actually go through your cases. It's very interesting to be able to just expand upon what's actually presented within the report as well. And in saying that, I also wanted to, what will be present in the report, and I'd like to just touch on briefly, is that the case studies that have been presented so far, the purpose of this is to show that through strategic engagement with smallholders, there is value both to business and to the community. So there's a few things, as you'll see on your screen here, just related to the potential of developing new products that we've heard, gaining access to better inputs, and also the less direct outcomes of actually alleviating poverty and debt reduction amongst smallholders and communities. So these are some of the items that actually are promoted or discussed in more detail within the report. So we encourage you after this to go and take a look at the report in more detail, the other cases that are presented, and to allow for there to be a little bit of time to ask some questions. I see that there have been a few, so I'd just like to open that up, and I'll also be able to direct these questions to the companies, and for those that have been able to actually say who you are and where you're from, I'll mention that. So the first I'd like to ask is towards East-West Seed, and this can be for all the panelists actually, so perhaps East-West Seed can answer this first. So the question is from John Chettleborough from Oxfam. The issue of smallholder finance, have there been any attempts to partner with finance institutions to include finance as part of the integrated extension seed finance bundle? So do you see any potential with this sort of approach?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, John. Thanks for your question. It really is a significant issue, financing, but no, we haven't partnered with any finance institution in Myanmar. And also, I'm not really sure how it will go with the farmers. The vegetable markets in Myanmar, they really tend to fluctuate quite a lot. So one season you can get a very high yield from your tomato, or very high profit from your tomato, sorry, but the next season the price is plummeting. To be honest, we don't know how receptive farmers will be to finance at the moment, but yes, it would be incredibly interesting. It's not something we would do ourselves as a company. That's, again, a case for us to link to a partner. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Stuart. And that question can go out to either Ada or Thirwet, if you'd like to comment on that, or...
For first-time Campina, we do partnered with the World Bank from the left one side, especially for the DDPs in Indonesia. I would say that we act as a middleman, how to line up the smallholder dairy farmers in order for them to get the financial support.
I just want to reflect what Stuart said. We're actually working through the farmers themselves, so it's farmers who would actually have to take on that responsibility. So it'd be kind of difficult for us. We could make the link, but that would be just about as far as we could go.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. So the next question I can ask is from Samir, and this is to Friesland Campina. Ada, could you give some examples of key performance indicators?
We use a number of farmers that's a part of our dairy development program. The quality of milk, because for milk, as if you know about for the milk productions, you need to make sure that when you get the milk intake, it's a high quality already. I think this is one very key indicators for us. As I mentioned during the presentation, it's always very difficult to capture the benefits in both qualitative and quantitative terms. But our teamwork they start to do in, I think last November, they take about 50 to 70 farmers in each DDP country as an example, as a sample, to benchmark the benefits. And we use a number of indicators. For example, number of trainings, that is easy to do that, and number of the cow productivities, and the number of, and about the standard as well, whether the farmers can meet the FAO agriculture standard. And we use this number of KPIs to determine whether that is successful. Of course, we cannot cover all the dairy farmers given the scale is very big, but we choose the selective samples in order to project to give us a better idea what we have been doing in a particular country.
Okay, thank you, Ada. We have a question from Rachel Peng from Syngenta. She asks, can I know what this is to AA, can I know what are the hectares of the tree planting areas and rice growing areas? So since this is supposed to be a guaranteed buyback from tree growing farmers. So how is the selling to other competitors work in your model? So perhaps the first question of...
Well, the area of coverage is kind of difficult to calculate because it's a strip and it's not in one block of land. We can do that calculation for you, and if you just like to, the emails will come up later on, I understand. So if you could just repeat that question, and my team will get back to you on the approximate acreage that's involved. Working with farmers is kind of tricky, and buybacks, even though at the beginning it worked very well, what we're finding now is that this is an open market. The trees, the process that we go through is we actually sell the saplings to the farmers themselves at a very low price. We tell them what the buyback price will be after 3 to 4 years. And then it's up to the farmer. He can sell it back to us, or he can actually sell it on open market. We have had instances where, so it's not a firm contract, if you like, but the farmer will always remember what the buyback price is, and that will be his reference price when the 4-year cycle is up and we come back to him. What we're finding at these years is that after the success that we've had, farmers actually realize now that if they are not in need of cash, then they actually hold back on the trees. So it is an open market transaction in the end.
Okay, thank you for that. I think there's actually one question directed towards CSR Asia, so I wanted to just answer that. It was from Hank from Oxfam. So he asked, how did we choose the companies in which we wanted to approach or develop these case studies? The reason why we approached the companies that we did is because it provides a range of different approaches that exist when it comes to inclusive and sustainable business models, so that there isn't one way of actually approaching smallholders, that it takes you have the intent by the company and that we wanted to articulate that, but also that there are a number of different challenges that exist and that it is dependent on the market, on certain cultural or social realities that are there as well. So when we chose the companies that we did, we wanted to show these cases both in a very real sense. So that is that it does take a certain, not a specific approach, and that there are a range of different ways that companies can do it. So I wanted to just address that. And I think because of the time, I wanted to also explain that there will be an opportunity for all the participants that were unable to ask their questions to please feel free to email whom you like. And I'd also like to thank each of the speakers from Business Call to Action, East West Seed, Friesland Campina, and AA. And I would like to thank everyone for participating, and we hope to continue this discussion, and we will follow up by providing the report. So thank you very much again.